I walked into our apartment one rainy evening and saw my wife sitting on the edge of the couch, holding a wine glass like it was a lifeline. Her mascara was smudged, her hands trembling. Next to her on the coffee table lay her phone, screen still lit. A string of messages with someone named L. My chest tightened. The last message read, "You need to tell him the truth tonight. I'm Michael Bennett. I'm 27 years old, born and raised in Boston. I work as a project manager for a tech firm. Long hours, endless deadlines, a job that eats away at my evenings. I've always been the guy who keeps things together, the one who makes lists and fixes problems. But nothing in my spreadsheets could have prepared me for the chaos that entered my home that night. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it. My wife's best friend said, I chose you instead." I sat across from Emily, my wife, and waited for her to speak. The apartment smelled of wet asphalt from the open window. Somewhere in the background, the city hummed, cars hissing over the slick streets. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then whispered, "Lena came by today." Lena, her best friend since college. The woman who had been at our wedding, who helped Emily pick her dress, who knew every corner of our life. I remembered the way Lena used to look at me. Friendly, sure, but there was something underneath, a flicker of something I never named because it felt wrong to name it. Emily's fingers clutched the stem of the wineglass so hard I thought it might snap. "She told me something about you, about us." My heart pounded. "Emily, what is this?" "She said she's in love with you," she blurted, then covered her mouth like she'd just sworn in church. She said, "She's been in love with you for years." I leaned back, dizzy. The room spun slightly. "Lena said that?" "She said she chose you instead." Emily's eyes brimmed with tears. "That she could have had me, but she chose you." Felt like the ground cracked beneath me. This wasn't just a confession. It was a collision of everything. Our marriage, our friendship circle, the life we'd built. And in that moment, another memory surfaced like a ghost. 2 months ago, a work trip to Chicago, a hotel bar, Lena showing up unexpectedly, saying she was also in town. We'd had drinks, a long talk about stress, about feeling invisible. She touched my hand once. Nothing happened, but the look in her eyes that night, now it all made sense. I rubbed my temples, trying to breathe. "Emily, I swear, nothing happened." "I believe you," she said, but her voice cracked. "But she thinks something did." The rain outside turned heavier, pelting the window like tiny fists. My mind raced. Work deadlines, Emily's growing distance over the past months, my father's declining health back in Vermont. All of it stacking up like bricks on my chest. I'd been living 2 lives. The reliable manager at the office and the husband trying to keep a crumbling marriage alive at home. And then Emily whispered something that nearly stopped my heart. "There's something else you don't know about Lena, about us." I stared at her. "What do you mean?" She set the wineglass down, her hands shaking violently now. "Before you and I started dating, Lena and we were together for almost a year. It was like someone had turned down the volume of the world. I heard only my heartbeat, slow and thunderous. Emily's confession hung in the air like smoke. My wife's best friend, her secret past, and now her confession that Lena had chosen me instead. I felt a cold wave of betrayal, confusion, and something darker. The sense that I'd been living in a story everyone else already knew except me. Emily stood and walked toward the window, her silhouette framed by the city lights. "She's been texting me for weeks. She says she wants you, that she'll tell you everything herself if I don't." I swallowed hard. "And what do you want?" She turned, eyes red, and said softly, "I don't know anymore." In that moment, my phone buzzed on the table. A text from an unknown number. "Meet me tomorrow, alone. I'll explain everything." The signature at the bottom chilled me. "Lena." The screen glowed between us like a bomb about to go off. I picked up the phone, my hands trembling. My entire life, my marriage, my career, my sense of family, felt like it was on the edge of a cliff. And deep down, I knew tomorrow's meeting could push it over. I looked at Emily, her face pale and distant. For the first time since we'd met, she felt like a stranger. Outside, thunder rolled, and I whispered to myself, "What have I gotten us into?" The screen lit up again with another message from Lena. "Don't tell Emily. This is between you and me." I stared at those words until they blurred, my pulse roaring in my ears. Whatever this was, it wasn't just about unspoken feelings. It was a secret war I hadn't even known I was part of. And tomorrow I'd have to walk right into the battlefield. I barely slept that night. The sound of rain and passing cars outside our window felt like static in my brain. Emily lay on her side, back to me, breathing unevenly. At 3 a.m., I sat up and stared at the glow of my phone. Lena's message still there, like a wound that wouldn't close. Morning came gray and brittle. I dressed mechanically. Dark shirt, tie, coat, but my hands shook as I knotted the tie. At work, my mind refused to focus. The office buzzed with chatter about deadlines and deliverables, but all I heard was Emily's confession echoing in my head. Lena and we were together. I sat in the glass conference room while my boss, Mark, droned on about the upcoming launch. He was the kind of man who thrived on pressure, whose tone made you feel like you were one mistake away from collapse. "Michael, are you even listening?" he snapped. "Yeah," I lied, scribbling notes that meant nothing. Inside, my pulse was racing. I was supposed to present our progress to the board next week, a presentation that could make or break my position. But all I could think about was the meeting waiting for me at noon. When the clock hit 11:45, I left the office, telling the receptionist I had a client lunch. The cold air outside hit me like a slap. I walked the 3 blocks to the cafe Lena had texted me. A quiet, tucked-away place with dark wooden tables and steamed-up windows. She was already there, in a corner booth, nursing a coffee. Her hair was damp from the drizzle, her eyes rimmed red. Seeing her was like being yanked into another life. The easy laughter at parties, the teasing comments at our wedding rehearsal. Now there was nothing easy about her. "Michael," she said softly as I slid into the booth. "Thank you for coming." "Why am I here, Lena?" I asked. She looked down, twisting a paper napkin in her fingers. "Because everything's about to explode, and you deserve to know the truth before it does." I tried to steady my voice. "Emily told me you were together once." She flinched but nodded. "Yes, we were. She broke it off when she met you, but she never told you what really happened." The cafe hummed with low conversation and the hiss of the espresso machine. Outside, people hurried past under umbrellas, unaware of the wreckage unfolding inside. "What really happened?" I pressed. She looked up at me then, eyes full of something like grief. "Emily didn't just leave me. She left me pregnant." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Pregnant? I lost it," she whispered. "Miscarriage." I never told her. I didn't want her to pity me, but I never stopped loving her. And then you came along, her perfect escape. My breath caught. The air felt thick, unbreathable. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because she's not the only one keeping secrets," Lena said. "And because I'm done being the villain in her story." I stared at her. "What do you mean?" She reached into her bag and slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were photographs, grainy prints of Emily with a man I didn't recognize. His arm around her, their faces close. Dated just 2 weeks ago. My stomach dropped. "Who is this?" "Her coworker," Lena said quietly. "They've been seeing each other after work. She's been lying to both of us." I couldn't speak. My wife, my job, my life. It all felt like a set piece in a play I didn't audition for. Lena reached out, her fingers brushing mine. "I didn't come here to break you, Michael. I came because you deserve to know. You're not crazy. She's been playing a dangerous game, and she's dragging us with her." I pulled my hand back, trembling. "Why show me this now?" "Because she told me last night she's leaving you," Lena said. "She's planning to move out. She just hasn't told you yet." My heart thudded like a drum. No, that can't be." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought if I told you first, maybe you'd have a chance to decide what you want before she does." Silence stretched between us. In the reflection of the window, I saw my own face. Pale, eyes hollow, a man unraveling. Finally, I managed to choke out, "What do you want from me, Lena?" She stared at me, her voice barely audible. "I want you to choose. Not her. Not the job. Not the lies. Me." The cafe door opened, a rush of cold air sweeping in, and for a second the smell of rain filled my lungs. I pushed the envelope back toward her. "I can't, not like this," I said. Her eyes glistened. "Then it's already too late." She stood, pulled on her coat, and walked out into the rain, leaving me alone with the photographs. I sat there, staring at them, my hands shaking so hard the coffee rippled. Around me, the cafe's warmth felt false, like a stage set about to collapse. My phone buzzed again. This time, a message from Emily. "We need to talk tonight. It's important." I knew, with a sick certainty, that whatever she had to tell me would change everything. Outside, the drizzle turned into a downpour. I walked home that evening through sheets of rain, clutching the manila envelope under my coat like contraband. Every step echoed like a countdown. My thoughts were jagged flashes. Emily's face, Lena's confession, the photographs. I felt like a man walking toward his own execution. The apartment was dim when I entered. Emily sat at the kitchen table, a single lamp casting a yellow pool of light over her face. She had a packed duffel bag at her feet. She looked up, eyes red and tired. "Michael," she said quietly, "we need to talk." I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart hammering. "Yeah," I said, dropping the envelope on the table. "We do." She stared at it but didn't touch it. "You saw her today." "Yes," I said, "and she showed me these." I slid the photographs out, spreading them like cards between us. Emily flinched. "Michael, it's not what you think." "Don't," I said, my voice breaking. "Don't lie to me anymore." Her shoulders slumped. For a long moment, all we could hear was the rain drumming on the windows. Finally she whispered, "His name is Daniel. We've been working late together for months." I didn't mean for it to happen. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Didn't mean for it to happen? While I was killing myself at work to keep us afloat, while you and Lena... My throat closed. I was the only one who didn't know. Tears streamed down her face. "Michael, I was lost. After my dad died, after I lost the pregnancy with Lena, I felt empty. You were always at work, and I didn't know how to tell you I was drowning." I staggered back, the pieces finally clicking. You knew about the pregnancy?" "I did," she said softly. "Lena told me months later. We swore never to speak of it again. I thought if we buried it, it would stay buried." She pressed her palms to her eyes. But it never did. Silence. Heavy and suffocating. I could feel my hands shaking. "I loved you, Emily," I whispered. "I still do. But I can't live like this." She looked up at me then, not as my wife but as a woman stripped bare. "I'm leaving tonight. I'm moving in with my sister until I figure things out." I wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand an explanation that would make sense. Instead, I sat down across from her and buried my face in my hands. My body shook, but no tears came. She reached across the table, touched my hand one last time. "I'm sorry," she said. Then she picked up her bag and walked out, the door clicking softly behind her. Just like that, she was gone. Aftermath. Weeks blurred. I went to work, gave my presentation, and somehow nailed it. On the outside, I looked composed. On the inside, I felt like a ruin. Lena texted a few times, but I couldn't answer. I needed to breathe without someone else's secret filling my lungs. One night, I drove up to Vermont to see my father. We sat on the porch, watching the sun sink behind the hills. I told him everything. Emily, Lena, the betrayal, the years of silence. He didn't interrupt. When I finally finished, he said something that stayed with me. "Son, love isn't about rescuing someone from their darkness. It's about walking into the light with them, and if they won't walk, you can't drag them." I stared at the horizon, the colors bleeding gold and purple. For the first time in months, I felt something loosen in my chest. In the end, I didn't choose Emily or Lena. I chose myself. I started therapy. I cut my hours at work. I began running again, cooking for myself, visiting my father more. Slowly, I remembered who I was before the lies. Lena sent me one last message. I hope you find someone who chooses you the way you deserve. I never replied, but I saved it. Not as a promise, but as a reminder. If there's one thing this story taught me, it's this. You can love people deeply and still lose them. You can give everything and still not be enough. Not because you're unworthy, but because they're fighting battles you can't see. And sometimes the bravest, kindest thing you can do is to step out of the storm and let go. That's what I did. And for the first time in years, I felt the rain not as a threat, but as a cleansing. Don't be afraid to choose yourself. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most honest beginnings.